Thank you for attending this session dedicated to transforming workspaces, harnessing people advantage in a new era. My name is Yannis Zorbas. I'm a project leader for the Athens office of the Boston Consulting Group, and I work alongside companies to help them address people and organization topics. I will be moderating this panel to explore the answer to one key question. What are the critical capabilities required for companies to gain talent advantage in Greece today? And what are Greek companies doing to put these critical capabilities in place? Just to put a little bit of context in this discussion, the era of crisis is long gone, and Greek companies have emerged from survival mode. Right now, they are ready to harness, let's say, a very steady economic environment and an era of unprecedented technological advancement. To do so, the key to success lies in attracting and retaining suitable talent, and doing so requires that they have the necessary people management capabilities to do so. Within this framework, BCG ran recently our Creating People Advantage survey in collaboration with World Federation of People Management Associations, which provides an overview of what are the current capabilities and what are the evolving priorities for companies all over the world. In Greece, the results of this survey do not really differ a lot from what the global outlook is. Unsurprisingly, talent acquisition and employer branding, people strategy and planning, and technology infrastructure and digital operation in HR are the top themes. To discuss these three topics, I have the honor to welcome 5 distinguished members of the Greek corporate world to share their perspectives with us. So, in order, we have Mrs. Frangiski Melissa, Group Chief HR Officer in Alpha Bank, Mr. Sotiris Stamatiu, Group HR Director in the Onassis Foundation and also the Chair of the Greek People Management Association, Mr. Yossi Arouch, Managing Director and Partner of Boston Consulting Group in Athens. We have Mr. Giorgos Gеωργόπουλος, Group Chief HR Officer in Piraeus Bank, and we also have Mr. Alexandros Zadimas, Group Chief HR Officer in Hellenic Energy. Thank you all for joining us for this session. So let's start with talent acquisition. The evolution of business and, of course, of technology has radically affected the type of skills and profiles that companies need today. At the same time, it has become very difficult, very challenging to find and attract these suitable candidates, especially for jobs that are not traditional part of a company's core offering. Imagine data science and machine learning in a bank or a refinery. In Greece, this is further compounded by the fact that a lot of highly skilled employees have emigrated during the years of crisis. So I will start first by asking you, Giorgos, in your experience and in this context, what makes an effective talent acquisition process for an organization?
Yeah, Yanni, I think that you were very right in portraying, the context. I think that there is a series of steps that constitute an effective talent acquisition process. I think that the first thing and the most important is the understanding of what we're looking for. I think that there has been not very long ago cases where or ages where HR and business were not really conversant with each other. For HR to really understand the business is a challenge. Of course, much more challenging is to understand the kind of jobs that are outside the core business of the organization, as you correctly said. But I think that this is slowly, gradually, but steadily changing. HR has become, I think, a very powerful, let's say, partner in an organization with the business. And this is a very important first step for starting an effective talent acquisition process. The second thing is, of course, sourcing and how you ensure that there are multiple channels you use in order to make sure that you you have full access in the talent pool out there. So, of course, you know, there are the LinkedIns of this world, social media, very important, you know, the networking that happens both at HR and business level. And, you know, the business leaders need to know what is out there in their field. And of course, there is an important internal database, especially in large organizations such as ours. And, you know, this needs to be continuously updated. Mm-hmm. The third thing is, you know, is the process of evaluation. And this needs to be seamless. It needs to be it has to ensure that candidates are not frustrated. At the same time, it needs to be, you know, it needs to go through all the steps. Business has to be involved at the right time, but it has to go in with a structured way. Objectivity has to be key, because this is very important to have, you know, to brand you as a credible employer, both externally and internally. And I think the fourth step, which is, let's say, the final but also very important, is that once you have an agreement between the employer and the candidate, I think that at that point you have to ensure that all the expectations are realistic. And I'm saying that because at that point is where the employers are making the mistake of beautifying a bit, you know, what is the inside world. And you see there are cases, instances where we have candidates a few months later being a bit dissatisfied because the dreamy picture that has been painted was not exactly the one that they encountered. Overarching, you know, all that is, of course, the employer branding, and that's a very important part. Of course, this doesn't have to do, HR has a small role to play there. Mm. Employer branding has to do, of course, with, you know, a multitude of things. Is the financial strength of the organization, the commercial strategy, the values, the ESG strategy it has, everything. And, you know, a very important, I think, and a very telling example is what happened with Greece, the Greek banking sector, individual banks. One of them I represent. When we had the crisis, you know, no real interest was demonstrated by real talented people. Now this has changed, together with the turnaround of the industry, of the organizations, the individual organizations. Now the interest is, you know, is going through the roof.
It's going through the roof, yes. Yeah. That's actually true. And I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on that. And I wanted to ask you, Alexandre, especially on you know, digital skills, right? On profiles that may not consider your kind of industry their natural place of employment. In what ways do you and your team reach out to these profiles? What do you do to attract them and make them, you know, feel that your company, your industry is the right place for them to be?
Thank you for the question, Yannis. Let me give you some context that is related to the question. So Hellenic Energy is one of the leading integrated energy companies in Southeast Europe, with activities in 7 countries. And our main activities include refining with 3 refineries in Greece, fuels marketing with over 2,000 service stations in Greece and abroad, gas and power, renewables, supply and trade of fuel products and chemicals, electromobility services. So it's a spectrum of, you know, traditional business and new business. And the last years we have been going through a major transformation program. We call it Vision 2025, that has been completed well before the initial plan, its first phase, and now we are going forward with the next phases. And it spans actually all the areas and activities of the organization, including HR. And for HR, it calls for updating the organizational structures to enable the transformation. It calls for upgrading the skills and capabilities of people, injecting also the right talent from the market. So what does this mean for our talent acquisition agenda? For our traditional business, that is refining, it's to renew the workforce and at the same time retain those highly skilled and capable and experienced employees, because of the complexity of the role and because of the increased safety needs, it takes quite a time to develop the necessary expertise for them. But for the new businesses, like renewables, for example, we try to find people with scarce skills that cannot be easily found in the Greek market because there are not too many first, and second, because the competition for them is strong. At the same time, we need to staff our support functions. So we need to strengthen finance, IT, legal, HR also. And we need to do that at all levels, from the junior professional to the senior manager. So in that regard, we have become more aggressive in the talent market. We have upgraded our talent acquisition team, both in terms of size as well as capabilities, and we are following a talent acquisition strategy. The second is that we use all available pools and tools, like social media we use with specialized headhunters in Greece and abroad. We participate in career events and also strengthening the relationship with the universities. The third is that we are placing a lot of emphasis for Greeks working abroad, so we are aggressively seeking to repatriate Greeks, not only because it's good for the country, the economy, but because they have skills that cannot easily be found in our country. And as an example, next Sunday, we are joining forces with other 10 corporations, big corporations in Greece, and my friend Fragiski also in Alpha Bank, to join a big event for Greeks working in London that would like to repatriate should the right opportunity arises. And finally, consistently, we are sharing the successes of the organization, whether these are good business results or entering a new market and acquisition. And this is the most powerful employer branding message, because people, above all, would like to be in winning organizations. And the fact that we are in a hot sector like energy, and the fact that we are through transformation process, it helps us a lot in our employer branding story. Now, for the people that are not natural for our sector, I think it's important that we develop, an organization develops an employee value proposition, so why to join and why to stay with us, and also to develop some key messages in 4 pillars. The one is the pride contract, the corporate pride contract. For example, for us, that we are the largest oil and gas player in the region, that we are developing an engine for the national economy. The second is the financial contract, that the organization offers very competitive remuneration that evolves along with performance. It's also the wellness contract, that is, there is good practice sharing and knowledge sharing in the organization. It is an organization that constantly evolves. And finally, it's the career, let's say, contract that the organization offers continued improvement. And these messages, we use a mixture of them when approaching those people. For example, in renewables, we say, come and join us, and as we are expanding, we will be the front runner. For people like financiers, we tell them that come and you will develop your skills, you will increase your employability, and you will find also numerous development opportunities, because the size is big and because we are in transformation. And these messages are amplified by some of the initiatives that we have in place, like the Proud of Youth Scholarship Program that we offer every year, 30 scholarships, not only in engineering, but also in digital transformation, finance and management, so for the specialization, not very natural. And also we are implementing an extensive internship program for 200 students every year. And I guess that these are very good tools for people that are not very natural in our sector.
Yes. Thank you. One thing mentioned by Alexandros is what we need to share with prospective employees to make them, to convince them to come. But Fragiski, what do you think is it that employees are still expecting from employers, and what is still missing from that communication?
Well, the reality is that the landscape of work has changed considerably. I think that, as the previous speakers mentioned, the dynamics between employer and employee have also changed. So there are several things missing. Some of them, we heard them today. I would say that the first one is that employees become impatient. They want to have accelerated career paths. They want to have multiple career paths. They want to see progress, not only from traditional pathing, but also from paths that are technical. They want to be promoted and to have an impact in the organization, only because they have the specialization and the expertise. Also, we have seen a new trend which is related to the internal job hopping opportunities. Employees want to have a great mobility. They know their skills and they want to move in job families that they have similar characteristics. Another concept which is missing, it's called, actually it's not missing, but it's not where it should be, it's called neo-working. Neo-working refers to the new ways of working, but not only relates to flexible schedules, to remote working, but also to the physical environment. As you all know, there is a strong debate if employees should come back to the office or if they should remain doing teleworking, regardless of what the situation is, because there is not right or wrong. I would say that when employees are coming back to the office, they don't want to see the same office that they saw before. They want a modern office. They want a place where they will be able to innovate, to communicate, to create communities, to work cross-functionally. So the neo-working is here to stay, and I think a lot of things need to happen on this direction. Actually, this is what we're doing in Alpha Bank by renovating most of our buildings, especially the central building in Athens, in order to provide the employees a new atmosphere, a new way of working also in the physical space. I will move forward and say that something that it is very important and nowadays is super critical is that we need to have purposeful brands. We need to have meaningful, inclusive work. There are many organizations that they are claiming that they are purpose-led. In most of the cases, this is not the case. And to be completely honest, now that we are living in an era where people want to see that organizations do not exist only for profit and selling, but they exist for social impact, this comes as a first priority for us. In Alpha Bank, the last couple of years, we worked to operationalize the purpose and values, because it's not just a tagline, it's not just a couple of words that you can see on the walls. The most important thing is to make possible to embed these values in everyday reality and to make people feel that the organization has really a purpose. I will move forward to the compensation topic, which is the hot topic, of course, all across the years. I haven't met anybody ignoring the compensation part, but especially in banks nowadays, there is an increased need for transparency in whatever is relating to remuneration practices. And this is something which is actually regulated. We see that EBA guidelines that they published recently, they asked from us to be completely transparent and to communicate what is happening, the level of the positions, the weight of the positions, and also the remuneration which accompanied that. A last point which I will mention, and I think it was covered before in the previous panel talking about generation gap, it is related to something else that the young people need, and this is a sense of self-agency. What self-agency means is that employees want to have control on their own thinking, their own behaviors. They don't accept so easily to be controlled. They are not so easy communicating with elders. Elders are not experts for them. Experience does not mean necessarily that they are more sophisticated or that they know more. So that leads, unfortunately, to what we called a multi-generational gap. And in Alpha Bank, we launched recently a new diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, where one of the pillars is related to multi-generational diversity. I don't think that organizations have found the mechanism in order to bring this gap, to close this gap, and to make employees feel comfortable. In a summary, I would say that We have seen progress. Many of the expectations of the employees have been fulfilled, but there is a lot of work to be done, especially in Greek organizations, because it's not so easy. Things are very difficult.
Yes, and I just wanted to connect this with the second topic that we have, that you may have a very effective recruitment strategy and employer branding, but they can get you so far if you do not have an overarching people strategy, right? And people strategy means understanding how business goals are translated into workforce dimensions, what kind of organizational structure I need, capacity, skill set to achieve my goals 5 years from now. Thinking about this and how HR can anticipate these needs, I just wanted to start with Alexandros. Alexandre, in your view, what is the most effective way for an organization, for a company, to translate its business needs into a long-term, actionable people strategy?
Yeah. So I would say, as a first step, managers need to always consider the people impact in, let's say, business plans and projects. And likewise, the senior HR team understands how the company does business. That means that the HR team is on the ground and develops a solid understanding of the challenges that their businesses face, and also have a high-level view of the day-to-day activities. Not that they will become an expert, but at least they understand. And adopting an organizational model for HR with HR business partners has proven to be very effective in that direction. I would say also that HR team, the senior HR leaders, should attend the works of the BOD and the executive committees when strategic plans are discussed, so they get a direct, let's say, understanding of these plans. They raise the right questions, and they assess jointly with their business counterparts the people implication, but also the opportunities. As a second step, then, is to develop a strategic HR plan that is aligned with the business needs, considering also a solid workforce plan, focusing on how many people we will need by when and what qualities these people should have, and crafting the HR agenda, so all the key processes of HR around these needs. The third step, I would say, is to formalize this HR strategy and seek input from the main stakeholders to ensure that we are in the right direction, and also to ensure completeness. So CEO, Executive Committee, BOD, and the rest of the HR team are integral part of this indication process. And especially for the HR team, it's important to be consultant, as they will have a big part on this, so they need to remain fully engaged. The fourth step is to develop a set of KPIs and milestones, so we monitor the progress objectively and transparently. And the fifth step is what I call 3 E's, is execution, 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 because strategy without execution is only a paper, and we need to ensure some flexibility in execution when it's needed.
Thank you. Sotiri, from your view of the entire Greek labor market and the work being done by several HR divisions across the market, what do you think is the key challenge or challenges in really creating and operationalizing this people strategy? And how do people overcome these challenges across companies?
Okay. First of all, thank you. I would like to thank you very much for the invitation to be here with you at BCG and the Delphi Forum. It's my honor to be together with so distinguished colleagues. And I hope, and definitely they help me to summarize the challenges, because we discussed all those time, and also the previous time, the challenges that we face. So if I have to summarize in the way to developing of strong HR strategy, people strategy, the first thing is that in HR we have sometimes limited understanding of the organizational needs. So we need to be closer to the business, as we discussed before, define what we're trying to do, and set an HR mission for that. The second challenge for me is that the challenge is to stop thinking on a short term, on an annual basis, and start thinking on a long term, including the planning for the next 3 or 5 years, and proactively reallocate resources. Another challenge for me is the lack of clear organizational culture, and we have to influence this organizational culture by promoting the right behaviors. Definitely, the challenge of talent gap is here. We discussed already. So we need to get a better, to do better on talent acquisition, meaning that we need to build a robust recruitment strategy. We influence employer branding. We set a competitive remuneration package. We need to run a successful retention process, and definitely we stimulate a working environment, a positive working environment. The lagging of HR capabilities, it's another challenge for all of us, not for HR, but in general for the companies. And we must enhance the upskilling and reskilling, and mainly to focus on the digital gap and the digital capabilities, both for HR team and for our association, and for our organization, I mean, and start hiring also in HR department and other departments digital talents. We need to train, upskill the current employees, and fostering a culture of innovation and agility. Another area that we recognize needs to pay attention on that is the well-defined metrics, as we call it. We need to define and start measuring our success by, first of all, setting KPIs and metrics, and second, applying a data-driven decision-making process. Last but not least is the workforce planning, as we used to say. We need to set or upgrade a strategic workforce planning in our organization by forecasting the workforce supply and demand scenarios, and along with including job architecture and skills identification and classification. I think if we manage to address all those challenges, we'll have a robust PIP strategy program.
So connecting to the operational arm, creating long-term planning, and listening to the business very closely. And on that last part, Giorgo, in your experience, how do you best include business and functional stakeholders in this discussion of setting down a long-term plan, setting down a strategy, and making sure that everybody implements?
No, there is not much to add here, because I think that most of the issues were actually tackled. I think that a very important thing is to, first of all, ensure that there is trust and respect between business and HR. This is a very important, because I personally have seen, when I was on the business side, lack of respect about HR and the people agenda. Sometimes business thinks as these things being a bit fluffy. So as we actually make the discussion more strategic, I think that the core thing is mutual education. It's very difficult for business, and we all know that, to be able to describe its current needs in terms of competencies and skills. It's much more difficult to make sure that the business starts thinking in the long run, and how the people agenda is developing. So actually making sure that people understand the people agenda, which is have the right number of people, the right people on the bus, and these people being engaged and loyal in the long run, and how this can be achieved. This is an education that has to happen, to the business. For HR, I think it was said very well. You have to ensure that HR is involved at every single level. You have to have business partners. I second your the success of the model. We also do that. You know, our business partners are very much involved, and they participate very oftenly in all the business aspects of the various divisions.
Thank you. So we have one more topic, but we don't have a lot of time, so we will ask you to give me your answers in bullet points. The third point is about tech infrastructure and digitization, and it's an important lever to allow HR to shift resources and focus to the more strategic part of its operation. And the first question is for Sotiris. How do Greek companies treat the technical evolution and the digitization in the HR space? What are they doing? What are the trends and priorities? In some bullet points, if we could.
Okay. We'll start with the trends. I think that we have noticed that, I must admit that the HR department have started this journey and gradually embracing technology and digitalization. However, though, more slowly compared to other countries. But we have the companies have already started implementing digital tools. For example, on recruitment, they run applicant tracking systems and applications for attracting graduates. They run campaigns in social media on learning and developing. They use LMS, learning management systems, and digital trainings. And on top of that, they run collaboratives. They introduce collaborative tools in order to continue working remotely. And they put additional tools for other HR-related activities like the diversity, mental health, and so on. So we try to do this so much. However, my observation is that the companies recognizing the necessity of issuing all those and implementing all those tools. However, the gradual shift towards this journey has obstacles. The first obstacle for me is the cost of reliable system. The second is the inadequate understanding of how to maximize the benefit of those systems, how to extract data and how to unify this data. And of course, this period, the introduction also is another obstacle, the introduction of digital card, which actually absorbs energy and resources from the companies against all the other digital initiatives. Another observation to be certain of that is that we need to maintain, we realize that all those initiatives lead us to maintain different systems from different operations, which makes extremely difficult to unify and extract data. And the data management, this period, I think is the most important challenge in our companies. And so, and finally, as I talked before, the digital, towards the digital transformation, the lagging of digital competencies is another issue that we need to work on, as I said before, and we need to start training all our staff and mainly HR department, and of course introduce and invite digital talents in our departments in order to do so.
Okay. So thank you for that. We don't have much time, so I will move on with the closing remarks. By Yossi, you have spent several years across different countries, and you've watched companies go through transformations where the people aspect of the transformation is the make or break, let's say, thing. What are the key lessons that Greek companies can take from these transformations in the people dimension?
Thank you, Yanni. I think we heard already many of the lessons because, you know, I was astonished when I came back from abroad, seeing a lot of the Greek companies and the multinationals undertaking massive, large-scale programs and transformations. So I think this is happening for many years already in Greece. But I was very energized to hear many of you speaking about how transformation is also an extra force, or a Trojan horse actually, for HR to do both talent acquisition and reskilling, and also, you know, create this engagement in the organization. So what we will see in such a transformation would be, first of all, from the beginning, HR is in the heart of the transformation and designs what needs to be achieved and how it can be achieved. Many times this can mean, you know, for this transformation we need these new skills, but also we have these existing talent that we can blend in the transformation, and putting all this together, then 2, 3, 4 years down the road can unlock a lot of value of the organization. I think this is also a more practical twist that organizations do a lot nowadays, using transformations as a Trojan horse to bring with on-the-job training and with a lot of, let's say, change captains that start from the core of the transformation and cascade to the full organization, the new skills and the new mindset that the change is bringing. So was very energized to hear a lot from Alexandros and Mr. Zadimas and the rest of the people, how they use transformations in Greece to really address these 3 hot topics that you mentioned in the beginning, Yanni. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've come to a close. Thank you for your insights, of course, and thank you for attending this panel. Enjoy your day in Delphi.